it's Bella from Stellar View, and today I would like to share with you my astrological analysis of the national chart of South Africa. I do not consider myself an expert in mundane astrology, but I wanted to have a look at what the astrology of South Africa represents and what it is possibly saying. I would like to read the following disclaimer before I begin. This information is my astrological analysis only and my interpretation of the potential of this radix chart based on the time, date, and location. These interpretations is to be considered as suggestions and possibilities. The public is invited to reflect upon the interpretations and assess if they are worthy of being taken into consideration or not. This interpretation reflects a potential but does not offer a guarantee for that potential. I, in no event, take responsibility for accuracy of added links and information connected to reference material or any direct, indirect, or incidental, punitive, or consequential damages of any kind with respect to the information in this video. This is purely informative and for entertainment purposes only. The country of South Africa is rich in its people, art, cultures, land, fauna, flora, history, and also its pain. The first European settlement was at Table Bay in 1652. The Union of South Africa took place on the 31st of May, 1910, and the Transformational Democratic Constitution came into effect on the 27th of April, 1994. I will be using the chart of 27 April, 1994 at 0000 hours as it marked the importance, the beginning, and entirety of this day. The first day every South African had the freedom to cast a vote. The destiny of the nodal axis for South Africa's chart is the following. The South Node is found in the 4th house of Taurus, and the North Node is found in the 10th house of Scorpio. This is a power and control-based axis. The South Node is haunted by a feeling of lack, but nothing seems to be able to satisfy it. The North Node therefore works extra hard to fill that lack at any cost. This is who owns what of a tightrope, and it's about land and who possesses it. But strangely enough, those that want to be powerful and in control, ironically, give away their power and freedom and can end up being controlled by the very connection in whom aided them in becoming more powerful, because they allow greed to fuel them. Please check out the links in the description box below on the history of South Africa, the land issue, and the order in which nations actually arrived, obtained land, and from where they originated, as most people are in error about this part of the South African history. The country's first house is Aquarius and describes the large, unconventional, and resourceful population of approximately 59 million people, comprised of plenty of different ethnicities. Aquarius rules community. It rules large groups of people, history, politics, the future, the urge for freedom and equality, dictatorship, inventive qualities, technology, and the tendency to rebel and actively reform. In the 2019 Global Innovation Index, South Africa ranked first in the category of regional innovation leaders. I will have information and links in the description box below. Aquarius is also ruled by the planet Saturn, which would make Saturn the chart ruler of South Africa. Saturn, in the case of South Africa's chart, is the out-of-sect malefic and suggests it is more harmful. In ancient astrology, Saturn also symbolically represents a black population, ostracism, land, hardship, labor, karma, and under-the-ground resources. The ascendant falls on 9 degrees and 22 minutes of Aquarius, and Aquarius would also accentuate the country's journey towards liberation, tolerance, progress, and reform. The ruler, Saturn, of the first house is in the second house and can indicate the vast amount of poverty and financial hardship and much time and effort working towards financial security. It being the out-of-sect malefic is conducive to it not being as positively able to bring forth its agenda. The country's second house is Pisces and describes the personal property of the people, the economy, the currency strength, and ability to purchase. The monetary unit is the rand and is approximately 17 rand to the US dollar. Financial affairs, material security, and personal property can be at risk for heavy losses. Mismanagement, impracticality, and dubious money schemes can be an issue. Prudence and hard work is required to build up personal resources. Saturn, the ruler of the 12th and the first houses, resides here and can reduce the advantage of this house and could suggest strong karma to work through, unfavorable ties, sorrows, and suggest the cause of own misfortune. Ideally, there needs to be a balance between strict frugality and lack versus greed, between helping oneself and also each other. The ruler of this house is Jupiter and is found in the 10th house and can indicate gain or loss through government means. Jupiter is in a less beneficial position, positioned in the day sect of a night chart, and therefore loss is more expected. The third house of infrastructure, transportation, communication, technology, trade, schools, media, and neighborhoods are in the house of Aries with its ruler Mars. Indicative of the aggressive driving and the fact that South Africa experiences around 14,000 road deaths annually. It is known for its fast and reckless driving. Currently, municipal mismanagement and conditions of the roads make it even more dangerous. The strong Aryan energy here is conducive of hasty implementation of ideas as they are formulated, and conflict in neighborhoods. A love for sport, as it is part of everyday life, no matter where you go. There will be children playing soccer in the streets, on the fields, cricket, and currently holding the Rugby World Cup trophy, also reflecting the early British colonial influence. Sport and athletics play a huge part in South Africa's education system, plus South Africa hosted the Formula One Grand Prix at Kyalami in Johannesburg in 1993, with Brad Binder becoming the first South African to win the MotoGP race at the Czech Republic Grand Prix in August of this year, 2020. Many South Africans continue to be huge fans of the sport and motor racing in general. Malefic Mars in the night sect of a night chart is not as harmful as it would be in a day chart, but it is very strong in a night chart, capable of fulfilling its agenda in dignity, and also rules the Scorpio 10th house of government. Mars here can also act in beneficial ways, as seen with these victories in competition. The fourth house of earthy security conscious Taurus describes the sun sign of South Africa. The sun is here below the horizon and therefore not as capable of bringing forth its agenda as it would have been above the horizon. The sun in Taurus, fourth, is indicative of warm, sunny weather, the geologically rich soil, land, wildlife, farming, mining, diversity, variety, and love of food that brings people together. The traditional braai, as others will know as barbecue, biltong, Cape Malay curry, chakalaka and pop, bunny chow, just to name a few. Not to speak about the wonderful farm produce, dairy, and exquisite world-renowned wines, beer, and liquor such as the well-known Amarula cream liqueur made from the fruits of the Amarula tree. The area itself is 470,000 square miles approximately. According to FAO STAT, South Africa is one of the largest producers of chicory, grapefruit, cereals, green maize, castor oil seed, pears, sisal, and fiber crops. Taurian South Africa is also richly endowed with indigenous cattle breeds such as the Afrikaner, Nguni, and Drakensberger breeds. The Cullinan diamond was the largest gem-quality rough diamond ever found, weighing 3.106 carats, discovered at the Premier No. 2 mine in Cullinan, South Africa on 26 January 1905. In addition to diamonds and gold, it also contains reserves of iron ore, platinum, manganese, chromium, copper, uranium, silver, beryllium, and titanium, and is the world's third largest coal exporter. South Africa is also renowned for its varied topography of plateaus, high-veld grasslands, tree-dotted plains called bushveld, Karoo highlands, grassy prairie veld, mountainous areas such as the Drakensberg, the famous Flat Table Mountain in Cape Town, just about every climate you can imagine, the Indian Ocean on the east side and the Atlantic on the west. The country also borders to the north, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Swaziland, with Lesotho nestled within. The arts and music play an integral part in South African lives, cultural and traditionally. South Africans of all tribes and colors like to express themselves by decorating their homes beautifully. Here in the fourth house of Taurus, we find the sun, which increases the importance of land, tradition, and denotes the uneasy history and background of the nation and the strong influence it still has. We also have Mercury, the ruler of the fifth house here, which offers 12 official languages: Afrikaans, English, isiNdebele, isiXhosa, isiZulu, Northern Sotho, Sesotho, Setswana, Siswati, Tshivenda, Tsonga, and the South Node, which can indicate an over-concern of accumulation and ownership. Another emphasis on land and possession of land, questioning the past, fear of losing land, fear of crisis and poverty, and a drive to attain that which you could not have had in the past. It can imply a stubbornness to change and a holding on to old ways and old patterns, old pain, or feelings of separateness. The ruler of the fourth house is Venus, and she is located in the fifth house, which indicates inheritance towards the youth and children. In this case, land might not be the only aspect of inheritance, but maybe the love or hate-filled values the parents installed in their children's upbringing in regards to the racial history of apartheid. The fourth house also represents the opposition parties of the government, and interestingly, this is where the sun, the leader of the country, is found. The dispositor of the leader is Venus in Gemini. a sign of duality which could bring questions as to where the leader's loyalties lie. The main opposition appearing to be the Democratic Alliance, but also the EFF, of whom I was not sure where to place, as part rulers in the 10th house of government, or as an opposition party in the 4th, since the leader, Mr. Malema, has stated this to the Mail and Guardian: "We're in charge. We are running the country from behind through ideas because there's an absence of ideas in the ruling party." Interestingly, the ruler of the 4th, Venus, is in the 5th house of advisors to kings. The sun and leader is here below the horizon and therefore is not as capable of bringing forth its agenda as it would have been above the horizon. It also indicates that the transformation that is taking place within the country has been taking longer than was planned originally. Venus, the ruler of the 4th opposition parties, is more powerful in a night chart when she is ruling over this sun. The Economic Freedom Fighters, that was established in 2013, or otherwise known as the EFF, leader and commander-in-chief, with net worth of approximately $2 million, is Aries-born Mr. Julius Selo Malema. Interestingly, Mr. Malema was first the head of the ANC Youth League before establishing the EFF, and the ruler of the 4th, Venus, is in the 5th house of youth, and with maximum support. The EFF draws inspiration from the broad Marxist-Leninist tradition and Fanonian schools of thought in their analysis of the state, imperialism, culture, and class contradictions in every society, according to its constitution. It criticizes the African National Congress and their primary opposition, the Democratic Alliance, for their allegedly pro-business stances, which it claims have sold out the black people of South Africa to capitalism as cheap labor. Malema, who upon a visit to Zimbabwe called for the Mugabeist-style seizure of mines and farms in South Africa. In 2011, he was again convicted of hate speech after singing Dubula Ibunu, Shoot the Boer, which is implying to kill the whites. Since its establishment, the EFF has made a number of controversial racially or ethnically based statements about a number of South African minority groups. The EFF is widely criticized for inciting and perpetuating racism. He has twice been found guilty of using hate speech, in 2010 and 2011, first for comments he made about the woman that accused former President Zuma of rape, and then for singing the song Shoot the Boer, or the Afrikaner. When talking to supporters about the land issue in 2016, he warned the land will be taken by any means necessary. We are not calling for the slaughtering of white people, at least not now. What we are calling for is the peaceful occupation of land, and we don't owe anyone an apology for that. In a 2018 interview with Turkish broadcaster TRT World, he defended the comments and described anyone who thought that this might sound genocidal as crybabies. In February last year, Mr. Malema launched a debate in Parliament on land reform, saying, "The time for reconciliation is over. Now is the time for justice." The ANC then backed the EFF's motion that sought to change the constitution to allow for expropriation of land without compensation. I have a video on the history of South Africa and its people in the description box below, which I urge you to watch in regards to the accusation of land issues. The 5th house of the youth, arts, and entertainment in Gemini also describes the multiculturally diverse and talented peoples of South Africa. Venus graces this house and amplifies the rich theater, musical, artistic, and other talented abilities, plus the beautiful women of South Africa. The fifth house also deals with sports, and Venus rules ball sports, and again emphasizes the love of sport in this country with too many famous talents to list, since Venus is in her joy here in the fifth house, and also in mutual reception with Mercury, the ruler of the fifth, in the fourth, emphasizing the important role sports played in bringing unity in the country with the 1995 Rugby World Cup. Some famous sportsmen produced, such as golfer Gary Player, Blade Runner Oscar Pistorius, the Springbok Nos Botha, rugby player Bafana Bafana soccer player Benny McCarthy, Protea cricket player Jock Cullis, the Olympian swimmer Chad Leclos, to name but a few. Artists like Johnny Clegg, Dievel's Fantasties, too many to name, film, etc. Too incredible of a rich theater and opera world. I will list further informative links to the sport, arts, and culture in South Africa in the description box below. The ruler Mercury of the fifth house is located in the fourth and emphasizes the love of the land, the importance that art, sport, and culture played and still plays in regards to connecting and uniting the people of South Africa and the inheritance of the past. Mercury, ruler of the fifth and the eighth, is considered in most cases as far as sect is concerned, but some believe that if it is a morning star, as it is in this case, it would be less beneficial in this nocturnal chart in fulfilling its agenda. South Africa used to be known for its high-quality medical training and achievements in medicine, including the world's first human-to-human heart transplant by Dr. Chris Barnard in 1967. Currently, the sixth house of labor and public health belongs to Cancer and could also indicate the emphasis for satisfactory job conditions. Fortuna is here, and South Africa has a robust labor pool and incredible wildlife. Interestingly, almost every household has dogs as part of their personal security due to the high crime in South Africa, and dogs are ruled by Cancer. The moon, ruler of the sixth house, is in the 10th in fall in Scorpio. She is also in a less beneficial position according to sect, which implies the condition of the people, especially women, as well as everything ruled by the sixth house. It can suggest remedies through governmental means, such as the Black Economic Empowerment Policy, amongst others, and affliction associated with this house due to dishonor. Also, due to the BEE policy, most of the non-Black population are forced to work for themselves from home, which is also Cancerian. Traditional healers, such as Sangomas and Invangas, are also widely used by South Africans. That's Inyangas. Currently, the public health sector has been comprised by various challenges with a negative impact on healthcare quality, with senior doctors describing the situation in some hospitals as an epic failure of a deeply corrupt system, chronic exploitation, the Department of Health essentially bankrupt, and a system on its knees with no strategic management. Evident by the moon's condition and the masses suffering under this. To further the matter is the health migration and known brain drain for reasons of political and economic stability. In population coverage terms, South Africa's health system is dominated by the public health sector, while the private health sector mainly caters for the affluent members of society. The National Development Plan 2030 has several health priorities which have guided the National Health Strategic Plan aimed at achieving a long and healthy life for all South Africans. Since this debilitated moon rules the public health area and is also representative of women in government placed in the 10th Scorpio, it is interesting that during the current pandemic situation of 2020, alleged links between Aquarius-born Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and tobacco kingpin Adriano Mazzotti has fueled debate over what is really driving the continued ban on tobacco sales. Additionally, according to biznews.com, the ANC has been using COVID-19, a sixth house issue ruled by the moon in government, as its tool for radical economic transformation. The seventh house of Leo describes foreign relations, agreements, war and peace, and open enemies. In this case, it could indicate partnership in land, resources, and also suggests the theft of household goods and or property, since the sun, ruler of the seventh, is afflicted in the fourth and also less capable of achieving a positive agenda as it is out of sect. Foreign relations, having emerged from the international isolation of the apartheid era, South Africa has become a leading international actor. Its principal foreign policy objective is to develop good relations with all countries, especially its neighbors in the Southern African Development Community and the other members of the African Union. South Africa is part of an economic bloc shared with Russia, India, Brazil, and China, BRICS, with no express enemies. During World War I, nearly 250,000 South Africans served in South African military units supporting the Allied forces. During World War II, our ports and harbors, such as Cape Town, Durban, and Simonstown, were important strategic assets to the British Royal Navy. I will list informative information in regards to South Africa's involvement in the world wars in the description box below. The eighth house of Virgo suggests the need for practical, methodical solutions and a sense of duty and a need to correct problems in regards to social security, taxes, national debt, mortality rates, and insurances. The ruler of the eighth is Mercury, combust and considered out of sect by some due to its being a morning star in a nocturnal chart in the fourth, and can indicate trouble through inheritance, land, and property. This brings up the topic of expropriation without compensation in regards to land. Again, please see links in the box below. The relationships ruled by this house are based on power struggles, appropriately ruled by Virgo in order to find solutions and fix what is broken. South Africa has an under 5 mortality rate of 33.8 per 1,000 live births, with a population of almost 58 million, with approximately 30% under the age of 15. General life expectancy is about 63 years of age. Good progress has been done in regards to the social security of the country, but much more changes have to be implemented and worked on. The social insurance prong is much smaller than the social assistance prong. The IDTT's principal reform proposal is therefore the establishment of a national social security fund, which will be financed by contributions from workers and employers and will pay pensions, disability and survivor benefits, and unemployment benefits. National Treasury's latest projections of economic growth and government debt show that South Africa is on an unsustainable path and that urgent, meaningful interventions are needed to lift the country out of the low growth trap it currently finds itself in. The sales tax rates stand at 15% in South Africa. All other tax rates will be in the links provided below. Mercury in Taurus can be resistant to change, and due to its condition, suggests challenges when trying to find solutions in these areas. A recent example of such challenges during the pandemic includes allegations that government leaders and politically connected cronies siphoned off money meant for the unemployment insurance fund, and that relatives of public officials were handed inflated contracts to supply personal protective equipment. The ninth house of Libra, which covers the legal system, religious institutions, higher education, beliefs, an indication of the need to move towards the philosophy of equality and fairness of Libra, which has brought up much protests in regards to higher education in the last few years. And since Libra is ruled by Venus, this involves money. Nearly 1 million students are enrolled in the 26 public universities, with another 500,000 in the technical vocational training colleges. Enrollment has increased, but there has been great challenges in regards to tuition fees, racial disparity, efficient funding, no funding for the middle class, no funding if you're white, high dropout rates, to name a few. These challenges are linked to the wider challenges of South Africa, such as poor economic growth, high youth unemployment, and the political crisis surrounding the ANC leadership and government. The ruler Venus is insect in the 5th house of Gemini and is indicative of the multicultural languaged youth, curious and intellectual minds, but also the Gemini tendency of restlessness, dislike of discipline, and a thirst for knowledge without the persistence to concentrate on one particular topic or field for a long period of time, which can add to the high dropout rates of students. Venus also rules the 4th house and blesses with rich resources. South Africa has many religions: tribal, African, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and Christian being the highest numbers. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, is the supreme law of the country and binds all legislative, executive, and judicial organs of state at all levels of government. The 10th house of government, leadership of the country, the president, falls under Scorpio, with his ruler Mars in dignity, insect, in the 3rd house of Aries, being strongly able to accomplish its agendas, associated with increasing the willpower and the determination to succeed, and also indicates success through the ruler's partners, relatives, and respect amongst kindred. The moon is debilitated, afflicted, and out of sect. The moon also inclines to the fact that 50% of the cabinet is women and suggests an intolerance to opposition and advocacy of revolutionary changes, and also implies the use of satire, mockery, and exaggeration in regards to politics. Pluto retrograde here is powerful and potent and can suggest regeneration or degeneration, a reversal of agenda, and a longer process towards transformation. Decisions that generate history and crime related to bribery, corruption, and capitalizing for its own power, greed, and profit, reflecting the recent issue of the allegations of corruption by government in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic relief fund. Jupiter retrograde, afflicted, and less beneficial in this nocturnal chart, can be conducive of powerful will and ambition, plus the possibility of power within societies, and even powerful enemies. The North Node is also found in this house and suggests merging power with others and moving away from ownership and moving towards equal distribution and partnership. It can relate solutions to accumulation and must be aware of greed. The Republic of South Africa is a parliamentary republic with 3-tier system of government and an independent judiciary operating in a parliamentary system. Legislative authority is held by the Parliament of South Africa. Executive authority is vested in the President of South Africa, who is head of state and head of government, and his cabinet. The President is elected by the Parliament to serve a fixed term. South Africa's government differs greatly from those of other Commonwealth nations. The national, provincial, and local levels of government all have legislative and executive authority in their own spheres and are defined in the South African Constitution as distinctive, interdependent, and interrelated. Mr. Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa is the President of South Africa and, interestingly, also a Scorpio. Usually, upon looking at a country's chart, you would also look at the leader's chart, but unfortunately I do not have accurate birth time information. A lover of fast cars, vintage wine, trout fishing, and game farming, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is one of the country's wealthiest politicians with a net worth of about 450 million US dollars. In 1996, he married Tsepo Motsepe, a medical doctor and the sister of South African mining billionaire Patrice Motsepe. He has 5 children, confirming the relation of the ruler of the 10th house, Mars in the 3rd house, of benefiting from the partner's relatives. Plus, the sun, which signifies the leader, sits in the 4th house of Taurus that rules over mining. The 11th house of local governments, legislative bodies, and allies of the country is found in Sagittarius, which can indicate international friends and benefits of connections of those in high and powerful positions, which also suggest a hand in the government itself, since the ruler Jupiter of the 11th house is in the 10th house of government and also rules the 2nd house. Politically, South Africa is currently a member of the non-aligned movement, which more or less means that it is not aligned with any of the larger nuclear powers, and so it maintains a neutral stance in world affairs. Even though twice this year, EFF leader Julius Malema used high-profile platforms to bat for nuclear energy as a key plank of South Africa's energy planning. South Africa's closest allies are China, Russia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Namibia, Zambia, Swaziland, and Lesotho. Since 2007, Sino-South African relations have become increasingly close, with increasing trade, policy, and political ties. In the 2010 Beijing Declaration, South Africa was upgraded to the diplomatic status of strategic comprehensive partner by the Chinese government. Raw materials, mining, and oil remain the primary focus of China's investments. However, the country's investments extend throughout virtually every market sector, including everything from infrastructure, telecommunications, electricity, to food processing. China has also been expanding its military presence in Africa and rivaling the United States on investment and military activity there. Investment in the continent has also been a topic of discussion for the United States, and China is in its ongoing trade negotiations and political deliberations. South Africa represents a prime opportunity to China to significantly expand its global presence and influence in the world. The 12th house, prisons, hospitals, spies, secret enemies, crime and criminals, unredeemed karma, and the past fall under Capricorn in this 12th house. With this placement, selfish interests and materialistic inclinations can lead to self-undoing. The ruler Saturn also rules ostracism and is indicative of the apartheid past of South Africa. Malefic Saturn, who is also the ruler of this chart, is found in the 2nd house of Pisces, out of sect and more harmful. This can indicate secret gains through large animals, such as rhino, maybe in regards to connections with people in far-off places, 12th house. This can also indicate loss of income, loss of personal property, and belongings. Both Uranus and Neptune are found here in the 12th. Uranus can indicate an introduction of new order and management methods, control of others, control of politics, and rebellion against an action against order and authority. It suggests a callousness and disturbs the reserve of Capricorn. It tends to radical departures from established systems or accustomed methods, initiating innovations of a progressive nature. It inclines to faculty that anticipates public trends, associated with a fatherless nation, connected to separateness, connected to powerful people, crime, and also technology and electricity, which is indicative of the current electricity crisis in South Africa. And interestingly, it has been linked to corruption and mismanagement, which is 12th house. See the links in the description box below. Neptune is stationed here and accidentally dignified in the 12th, but afflicted, and impairs rationality and implies sorrow and fear from the past, deception, as well as fraud. In 2019, 594 rhinos were poached in South Africa. Rhino horns have increasingly been acquired by countries and criminal syndicates that seem to believe it has some kind of medicinal value. African elephants for their ivory, lions, elands, impala, duiker, reedbuck, bushbuck, bush pig, common warthog, the Chakma baboon, and greater cane rat are illegally hunted for the bushmeat trade. Violent crime remains an ever-present threat in South Africa. Common crimes include murder, rape, armed robbery, carjacking, home invasion, property theft, smash and grab, and ATM robberies. Armed robbery is the most prevalent major crime in South Africa, most often involving organized gangs armed with handguns and/or knives. Homicides are about 58 per day, which is approximately 6 times higher than the US. Reported rapes are about 1 every 36 seconds. 460 assault cases per day. Robberies of 142 per day. Robbery with aggravated circumstances, 384 per day. House burglary and property crime, 605 per day. Carjackings of 44 per day. Cash in transit heists, 183 per year, with approximately 552 farm attacks per year, which has now increased to an almost daily occurrence in 2020. Please check out the links in the description box below if you'd like to read more about the history, geography, landscape, and people, and other additional information on beautiful South Africa. I will continue on with the natal aspects of this radix chart. The Aquarius ascendant, the people, is making square aspects to the sun in the 4th Taurus, which can imply the need to relate to others, power struggles, tension, or conflict in regards to the people, as well as the leader and the people's interests. And it's also squaring Jupiter retrograde in the 10th of Scorpio, which indicates tendencies of violence, difficulty in partnerships, and greediness, challenges with the law and higher-ups. The ascendant is also parallel the moon, debilitated in the 10th, which is connected to the masses being easily influenced by government. The ascendant is sextile Mars in the 3rd, which denotes the people's fighting spirit and physical resilience. Saturn in the 2nd of Pisces sextiles the Sun in the 4th of Taurus and can imply gains through land, mines, industrial enterprises. Progress is slow but a steady climb to the top. The Sun represents the leader. The fourth house can also denote the opposition party. Interestingly, President Ramaphosa, the sun, had stakes in the mining sector. Saturn also trines Jupiter retrograde in the 10th of Scorpio and the midheaven, and suggests persistence and success in philanthropic interest directed towards utilitarian avenues in regards to mines, privately owned land, and second house topics such as economy by the government. The sun in the fourth, Taurus, is conjunct Mercury and strengthens the will of the leader to act on ideas and not just merely talk about it, but can cause a lack of objectivity. The sun is also opposite Jupiter, retrograde in the 10th, which can imply the leader to idealism that could lead to the support of dubious movements, a willingness to make great sacrifices, personal extravagance, and inflated ego, and underestimation of the opposition, loss through error, and could lack careful reasoning and forethought. Also issues with the law, and interestingly, the leader has had, amongst other allegations, controversial business dealings and allegations of benefiting illegally from coal deals with Eskom, which he has staunchly denied. The sun is also opposite the midheaven, conjunct the IC, and proposes hardship early in life. The leader is reserved and hardworking and implies a need for harmony in the land, until which the country will not function to its full capability. Mercury in the fourth, Taurus, squares Uranus in the 12th, Capricorn, and elicits radical views, a reluctance to compromise, and a will to force unrealistic views onto others with little practical value. Attempts to solve one issue stirs up greater issues, erratic conversion and conversation, sudden, unexpected, adverse changes. Since this is the fourth house, could this be the likeness of the EFF opposition party, unruly youth and crime? Mercury also opposes the midheaven and denotes emotional ties to the country and kin, past trauma, and an unhappiness with how the country is run. The debilitated moon in the 10th house of Scorpio is opposite Venus in the 5th, Gemini, which could imply conflict in regards to financial spending and public opinion. Venus also trines Uranus in the 12th, Capricorn, which suggests unusual partnership by popular standards and possible gains by the opposition party or the leader, since Venus disposes over the sun. Uranus is also related to electricity, energy, and technology. Venus in the 5th opposes Pluto in the 10th and is conducive of extremes of love and hate. The interest represents a power base that will be expanded and exploited by any available means. Venus rules the 4th of opposition, land issues, and Pluto is connected to transformation and upheaval of government, terrorism, nuclear power, crime, and rape. Interestingly, just in March of 2020, Julius Malema, the leader of the EFF opposition party, said this, and I quote, "Eskom should build nuclear power stations using a build, operate, and transfer model with a clear illustration of how the private sector will use their money, operate them for an agreed period, transfer operation and maintenance skills to state-employed engineers, artisans, electricians, and other skills needed to operate a nuclear power station." Where for years he was opposed to it, South Africa has one of the highest rape numbers in the world, and every 36 seconds a woman is raped. Venus is also contra-parallel Uranus in the 12th and can be indicative of the debt-ridden energy crisis, load shedding, and nationwide blackouts in South Africa. Venus is contra-parallel Neptune in the 12th and could imply stress and deception between areas that Venus and Neptune rule, such as the law, land, opposition, women, finances, socialism, drugs, and pharmaceuticals. Jupiter, retrograde in the 10th, is conjunct the midheaven and can suggest fanaticism about an interest, belief, and going too far in order to convert everyone to it. It can denote ambition and enthusiasm, but also principles sacrificed in the interests of professional advancement. The midheaven in Scorpio is contraparallel the Sun in Taurus and denotes an operation of cross purposes. The midheaven is also parallel to Jupiter retrograde in Scorpio and denotes the belief of the ability to achieve success and goals, but can overestimate skills in regards to achieving their ambitions. The debilitated moon in Scorpio is sextile Uranus in the 12th and is not good for a democracy since it does not like to yield to the will of others. It also implies a complex of separation, which could suggest a racism issue in regards to issues of these houses, the government and crime. And since the moon is in debility and this is Uranus, the planet of energy and electricity, and since the aspect is a sextile, it could elicit that there is a secret 12th house crime connection here involving the government. The debilitated moon in Scorpio is also sextile Neptune in the 12th, which connects success in regards to socialistic goals, but also a possibility of people being taken advantage of. The debilitated moon in Scorpio is also conjunct Pluto in the 10th, which denotes radical upheaval of government, no compromising, coercive relations, powerful emotional pressure to bear as a means to attaining control, which can become cruel and sadistic. The debilitated moon is also conjunct the North Node in the 10th of Scorpio. There was a solar eclipse here just before the birth of South Africa, which suggests an instinctive urge to set out on the transformative path set out before them. But the people could become an irritation in regards to the goals and the life tasks associated with it, which can cause issues of impatience and dejection, not satisfied, an unhappy situation. The North Node of the 10th house of Scorpio is sextile Uranus in Capricorn the 12th, and again easily connects the government direction with crime and underhanded or secret endeavors in regards to energy and unruly events. Development and progressive reforms in regards to restrictive issues of the South Node in the 4th that deals with land. The North Node in the 10th also sextiles Neptune in the 12th and can use deception, corruption, and criminal activity, even theft, by government towards direction effectively guiding affairs influenced, such as socialism. The North Node conjuncts powerful Pluto in Scorpio, the 10th, and suggests an energy of power and powerlessness, prisoners of misconception. Obsessive greed can pull them towards the opposite of positive transformation. Pluto in Scorpio in the 10th is sextile Uranus in the 12th Capricorn, suggesting powerful intentions, even duty in regards to radical transformation in all areas of life and surroundings, especially ownership, since Saturn rules over the 12th and is in the 2nd house. Could it indicate criminal activity in regards to electricity and Uranus? The sextile aspect just means two planets are cooperative or of an advantageous nature for those involved. Could it be government and concealed affairs? Affairs in connection with faraway countries, 12th house? Interestingly, the chart of China is also Aquarius rising, and China is a communist country with seemingly much interest in South Africa. Could this be an indicator of South Africa's future and eventually the world once the New World Order is set forth with the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius on December 21st, 2020? Remember, Aquarius and Uranus can be a liberator or a dictator. Whichever path it is to the extreme. This aspect can also indicate genius ideas that will impress wide circles of people throughout society. Interest in metaphysics, science, closely associated with atomic, nuclear, and space physics. Scorpio in the 10th is also sextile Neptune in the 12th, and again suggests idealistic movements and transformative actions on a global scale. And then finally, Uranus is conjunct Neptune in the 12th house of Capricorn and suggests the urge for change, interference of political affairs with no satisfaction, a discontent with circumstances. This aspect can denote false prophets or support of unworthy humanitarian causes. This conjunction can also indicate immense originality, creative abilities, and innovative inspirations. It encourages scientific research and innovation and spiritualism. It can employ experimental methods and affairs activated by the conjunction, and also ingenious gadgets and labor-saving devices being developed. Please watch part 2 for the current astrological weather and forecast of South Africa now.